I'm going to wait for our buddy. I can't look at that. Waiting on the guest of honor. Drinking our corporate sponsor, soda. Let's see what we got. Yes.
Is that better?
Hey, buddy.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon.
I can't see you. Do I have
You can't see me now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do I have to give you powers? Maybe. I don't know how to use the webinar. Let me see what Matthew. It says talking permitted. Is your video on?
Yeah.
It's like some basic stuff. Oh, I bet I can like make you a host. Promote the panel. Okay, now you should have the power.
Oh, you have to yeah. It says I can't start a video because my host has stopped it.
Make host. Okay. Let me just more. This is good. I told you this is going to be informal. You know what I mean? Allow to record, allow to multi-pin, put on hold. What the balls? Should be really. Let me see what happens if I make you the host. What is it? Do I lose? Am I no longer on video?
There we go.
Can you do that?
We did it.
Hey. Internet. That's how it works.
Am I moving? I look like I froze.
You're not moving. You look a little concerned to me. But the background, quite lovely. Is it? I'm trying to figure out if it's my Wi-Fi or your Wi-Fi. I think I'm pretty good, but I don't know.
I'm just having a look.
I move for you and you don't move. Is that correct? This is not a great brand film for Zoom.
This is the story of the pandemic, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't like the setup at all. This is why we do it live.
So this is why, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's kind of a bummer to have you just be like that, but I'm moving, right? You see me move.
Yeah, I can see you moving. Let me try.
I'm glad I put this live. Hey, there you go.
All right.
That's working.
Cool. It's not
a lot closer.
It's not the camera that it was, but it's a different one and it's working.
Yeah, it's your face though that everybody's excited about. That's where the magic happens. So how's it going? I feel like I saw you like 3 years ago or something. I don't know. When was the last time I saw you?
It must have been longer ago than that.
Yeah, that's sad.
I tried to see you in New York December before last, and you were having a child.
Yep. And then I thought, well, we could just catch up soon after that.
Yeah.
And then 2020.
exactly.
Well, I'm just going to ask you some questions and we're going to catch up. Does that sound good?
That sounds
great.
And
then we'll take it from here, but it's like a kind of an interview, but it's not an interview. I've got some like hard hitting questions for you. Go ahead and duck them, you know?
I didn't do any homework.
That's okay. I did some homework.
Okay.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you about, because I kept thinking to myself, you're in the morning, right? And then, but you're the next day. So you're behind me in terms of it's like 9 a.m. there or something like that, but you're the next day, right? And then I thought to myself, oh, he's in the future. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll say you're calling from the future. But then I thought to myself, I bet he hears that every single time he has a call with an American or somebody on the West. And so I was curious, one, is that true? And two, what are the other jokes that people make about doing a call with you in New Zealand, you know, when they're somewhere else?
They do want to know what happens in the future. They're very impressed. And I think, you know, we've had it pretty lucky down here. With this whole pandemic thing. I mean, I say that this last week we had 3 cases in the community and they shut down the city. They had 8 checkpoints around the city to stop people leaving. They've been testing the wastewater to see if there's a wider outbreak. They're serious. They're serious about. So it lasted 3 days, and then we have this 4-tier sort of level program, and we're back from tier 3 to tier 2 as of yesterday, which means I can go to the studio if I want to. The kids can go back to school, but for 3 days, it's everyone stay home. So yeah, we've had a pretty lucky, and it's been business as usual here since August. I think was the last time that we had a lockdown situation.
So you still go to shows, you go to the movie theater, you do all that kind of stuff that, you know.
I think it's they still advise you to be careful, but yeah, the public gatherings have been A-okay. I haven't been to the theaters as probably as often as I used to.
Yeah.
Just it's a habit that you can, like, over the course of a few months last year, sort of maybe fell out of that habit a little bit, but we can do all that stuff, and I guess back on Monday, if there's no more cases, we'll be back to that level.
That's amazing. Where do you think the 3 cases came from? Do they give you like?
They don't know, and that's like, normally they tell you a lot about it. Was a family. The wife worked for Sky Chefs, which has potential links to the border because she was preparing food for flights, but that's like her job is going the other way. She wasn't involved in getting on the planes or anything like that. So I think they're not quite sure still how they did all the contact tracing. They figured out that her kid, which school they went to, and they've tested everyone at the school, and I think they found 2 extra cases, and that was it. So it's a bit of a question mark how she got it. It's the UK strain, and she doesn't have any close contacts who've come in from the UK. So I don't know.
But everybody,
still a mystery. But
everybody in New Zealand knows her name. Is she basically famous?
No, they don't. They don't share to that level. They call them Case A, Case B, Case C.
Great.
Yeah, but they know like that her kid goes to. We know her kid goes to one of the high schools here, so you know that narrows it down a little bit.
Sure, and you know her profession, so so somebody knows. That's cool. I mean, that must feel really good. It's been sort of bizarro land over here. I mean, for a million reasons. Last year felt like just living in a totally alternate universe. I escaped New York pretty early because of the aforementioned baby, and both my wife and I work, and we needed some child support. And it's like our, the person who was helping us with our child on the East Coast was like, wasn't really in early March. It wasn't obvious to people that there was like, it was going to be like what it became. But like we had my wife's mom over, and then she got a call while we were there that somebody on her floor in her building had it. So it started to feel very close really quickly. Yeah. And my wife had this idea. She's like, if we, I'd go to San Diego tomorrow if you were up for it. And I looked at tickets, and they were, basically first class tickets from New York to San Diego were $400 a pop. So, first class, lots more. I felt like, it's a risky flight, but like, a much more contained area. And it didn't seem like people were flying as much, like the airports were empty and stuff. So the next day we just decided to leave, which was
so you left all your stuff, or did you pack up, or
no, we left.
You have a house full of stuff.
We basically, we had this house. We went in with a group of friends on a house outside of the city, so that we would always we had an escape there over the last few years. And then we took all of the baby stuff and everything, and we put it into 2 closets, just locked the door so that if anybody else needed to stay there, it turned out like her family was also living in New York, and they were able to go there, and them and their kids were able to like, get space from what felt like all the grocery stores were empty of food at that time. And so it ended up being pretty useful. So I left in a Brooklyn apartment, which are not known for their affordable rates, full of stuff. Just like, there was like one dish in the dishwasher, and I was trying to remember like how clean it was, like, am I going to come back with like a bunch of like insects or something like that? But thankfully I had maybe I had sort of like intuitively left it relatively clean. But we just left that there for 7 months. And I made a sneaky journey back by myself late last year we just stopped paying for it. There's so much money and just stopped paying for it. And
of course.
Yeah. It's kooky.
Well, we've taken the opportunity, I guess, to do a little bit of exploring in our own backyard. Because travel's off the books for a year or two. At least outside New Zealand. But so
did you go to that Hobbit town, or where in New Zealand would you go to?
I've never been to see Hobbiton. It's like a 3-hour drive or something from here. I've never actually been to see it. But I really admire the craft that went into building that whole world. No, we actually sort of nearby there, we had this plan to do this 4-day hike you walk around the outside of Mount Tongariro, and it's unfortunately the weather kind of there was this 2 days of rain. It was minus 10 degrees Celsius on the saddle of this the Tongariro crossing that you have to do as part of this walk. So we ended up skipping the first 3 days, and we just sort of made up and did the last day because we wanted to go down there and see what it was like. But we've booked again for April, so we'll see if it'll be a bit colder. It's coming into winter in April here, but it's like 43 kilometers, 26 miles or something, and you do it over 4 days, stay in huts along the way. That's cool. It's our kids are like just preteen, so good to drag them out outside,
cool stuff like that. Get them away from the video games or whatever. Precisely. That's fun. I'm gonna share this little link to Twitter real fast, just I forgot to do that. This is how I kind of operate. Talking with Mr. B. This is just going to be like this. It's literally going to be like listening in on our Zoom business call.
I feel like we should have a little beer or something. Like I've got cold coffee, but
I've got this little corporate sponsor I was saying before.
Nice.
Soda, there we go. Yup, that's
nice.
it.
I'm tempted.
Yeah. This is not an alcohol. This is non-alcoholic.
Right. Okay.
So it's Thursday at noon, and I'm a dad now, and it's not like a fun Thursday. It's not
right.
I kept thinking it was celebratory. Yeah.
I kept thinking it was 3 p.m. for you, but you're on the West Coast. So
yes.
Yeah.
So a little early, a little bit irresponsible, and there's a lot of work. The year starts off; it's always very busy, which is fun. Do you still run an agency, or are you all letterboxed all the time? Yeah.
No, I still do that. I've kind of got myself out of the day-to-day of agency, of that side of agency work. I write the odd pitch and I manage projects, but I'm not sort of doing much day-to-day work. Probably 10% of my week is in the agency, and the rest is on Letterboxd. So we've had quite a couple of years. We've gone from 0 full-time staff to three, I think now.
Awesome.
And yeah, which is great. And that's mostly been in the last 12 months. But yeah, we still operate with a very small team, and it's got plans to sort of slowly expand it as income allows. It's been really interesting sort of journey deciding that we wanted to bootstrap it right through, and to do that for 10 years and not take on outside capital and not be beholden to anyone else. So I think it's probably meant that we've been a lot more deliberate about how we've grown the platform and sort of, nursed the community into what it is today, which is fantastic, because it's meant that we've just been able to take our time to build community policy, to have everyone, we always wanted it to be a safe space that everyone can enjoy, no dickheads. And so, yeah, we're doing okay on that score.
Well, I got a few questions.
Mostly, it's hard. Social's hard, right? Yeah, okay.
So one, have you had anybody ever ask you to give you money for, like, to put you on that like VC pathway, or is it too far away? Yeah.
No, like every week on LinkedIn, someone's like knocking on the door. Nice. Which is, it's very sort of gratifying that they can see there's some value there. But
my nice was about you saying no, not about them. So, cool. I'm much happier with you saying no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's sometimes, some industry names as well have like Hollywood, not Hollywood, but people involved in organizations in the film industry have also reached out, and that's that for me is like, okay, we're doing the right thing, we're on the right track if they can see the value in it. So the thing, I know you say that, and I think it is nice to get that external encouragement, but there must be something inside of you that is also very aware that you're doing the right thing for you to stick with it for 10 years, because otherwise you could just take like the easier pathway out, quote unquote. But you must know yourself also that you're doing kind of the right thing in the right way, or does it not feel that way? Yeah, no, it totally does. It feels that, remaining independent and being in control of what we're doing, even perhaps at the risk of going a little more slowly than we could if we had a bucket of VC money, means that we can be more deliberate and take our time. And to me, it feels like the right thing, the right way to have done it. I was always a little scared that if a VC came along, they'd be like, well, what is this? What are you doing with this agency? Why is some of your focus over there and not on this? And, it's just taken that sort of, that number of years to be able to shift focus. And it, it is, for all intents and purposes, given the amount of time we spend on it, it is, basically 100% of my focus now. But
it's amazing.
That just comes from working 110% of the time.
Yeah, I think there's these really interesting, I mean, I'm as much into your product, which I think is lovely, and the community. It is like the only place I trust for like honest music reviews, and my friends who are very opinionated.
Cameron, it's movies. Cameron.
Movies. Sorry, thank you.
I know you knew that.
Yeah. So what is this music box thing that you've got? Checking my notes, custom playlists. But yeah, so like if I go watch a movie, I know that like Koiven and Rob Weikert and a couple other folks, people that I've even found through the platform who I don't know of, but who like there's enough alignment in other movies, I'll go to see like there'll be a movie that everybody loves and I like hate it, and I'm like I'm gonna go to Letterboxd and I'm gonna read these folks' reviews, and I know they're gonna hate it, and then they hate it, and I feel totally validated, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't feel like a crazy person.
That's good. Yeah. Like I think that I'm certainly been exposed to films that I would never have sought out had it not been for having a trusted circle of friends and strangers that whose opinion I value and give me, like, Rob was so great. He came up on that day that I presented at Brooklyn Beta. He came up and chatted to me for like half an hour, and he was so excited about what we were doing, and his, you know, he's done some, I think he's done some API integration to pull Letterboxd stats into his own personal website. Yeah,
cool,
very cool.
I love his personal sites a lot. He does like a bunch of.
He does a lovely job for sure.
You stole one of my questions. Well, you set up one of my questions. It was like, have you found, what's like a movie that you found that you really like, or maybe have like rewatched that you found like through your own
I told you that I hadn't done my homework.
Keep it in the background. Think about it and tell me later when you come up with it. But it does make me, I would wonder, because it felt like this product came from like a real passion for movies, but it's also it's like a relatively highbrow community. And I was wondering if you felt a lot of pressure to like know a ton about movies. Like, have you had to go back and watch like French New Wave and everything like that?
I've got some huge holes in the films that I've seen over the years. I just listened to that 3-hour epic podcast between Edgar Wright and Quentin Tarantino, and they go deep on the history of British cinema. And I got to listen to that. So. It was an episode of the Empire magazine podcast, but it's crazy. Like, not only had I not seen most of the films they're talking about, I can't even stream them down here. We don't have Criterion Channel. I plug in all the streaming services that I have on Letterboxd, and someone made the list of, there was Martin Scorsese sent them a list of 85 British films. I can stream 2 of them locally. Wow. So there is this issue where, like, there's a ton of content out there, but actually, being able to get hold of it.
Okay, is, so business idea, Matthew. Business idea. Get some VC money for this one. Just use your clout to get all those streaming rights and make. I just need to Mathterion. Maybe go and speak to Criterion Collection and figure out why they're not outside the US. And the rights around a lot of that stuff is probably a topic for another day, but it's so complicated. And we see it all the time. Even the same streaming service has a different library depending on what country you're in. So what we have on Netflix here is not the same as what you have in the US. Yeah. And I will say, if you did have Criterion, it's stressful. I subscribe like almost out of principle. They put out a subscription thing before they even existed. And I was like, well, I'm going to pre-subscribe because it would be really great to have some like high-end cinema online. But boy, like they'll have like, they release these like themes. And like one of the recent ones was like Japanese neo-noir. And I love noir, and I was not, and then there's like 50 movies that I never heard of that are all in a genre that I know I'm going to love. And they're subtitled, which means I can't even like multitask them. I really got to pay attention to them. And it's stressful. I was like, and they do that every week. They're like, here's the 50 movies you're supposed to see. Yeah. Now you can look them up and figure out if they're actually worth watching because someo's been there. Somebody does. Koivin has probably seen it and he knows. Yeah, that's true. I do check him pretty regularly. Yeah. He made a decision to stop watching TV and only watching movies. And so now. Have you seen this film called Time? Garrett Bradley's film. Okay, so this is this. I was just mulling over your question in the back of my head, and one that I watched very recently. It is a documentary that is constructed from all this old sort of home video diaries that a woman called Fox Richardson made for her husband, who was incarcerated. He got a 60-year sentence for bank robbery. And she was sort of left to raise their 6 boys. Wow. and created this. It's an amazing film. It's all done in black and white. You sort of it intermingles present day footage with these video diaries. That's a film I never would have found or come to without seeing it start to appear on a few end of year lists. And I think it's popped up on Prime Video. Oh, really? Nice. So. Okay, you go. You just scheduled my weekend. Thank you. So cool. So there's no real pressure. You just sort of own the fact that you only watch, rom-coms and sequels and things like that, and everybody's chill about that. Do you? I guess I don't know. You don't seem to write that many reviews. I feel like I must follow you on Letterboxd, and I would have seen it. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think I started the whole idea sort of came to me because I wanted to get better at forming criticism, and then, over the years, for the first, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, I was answering support emails, and that time was my review writing time kind of went out the window. So I like a lot of reviews. I consume a lot of reviews for the films that I log, but guilty as charged. It's been a while since I put pen to paper. But yeah, there are some on my on my profile, not enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's an invisible pressure. I feel an invisible pressure. I'm like, somebody real good's gonna see this stuff. And so, like, I mostly would just review like Fast and the Furious movies, which I love, and just be like, come at me, basically. Like, I like this movie. You're wrong if you think this is not 5 stars, and I will argue with you. But other than that, I don't have like a smart way to say, why it's great.
And we don't care. Like, so many we've got a lot of young people that have come to the platform, and there's this kind of this divide between these like cheeky one-liners that they get a lot of likes from the community and become popular versus the longer form. There's tons of longer form content in there and writing, and I think we probably need to get better at bringing some of that nearer the surface. The short stuff is easier to react to, so it can sometimes take over. But that's all stuff that we're thinking about and sort of incrementally will improve.
One of my favorite action movie writers, and I should have double checked how active he is on it, but it's called Outlaw Vern. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
Outlaw Vern writes, and he has for 15 years. I think he was like anonymous for a long time. I think maybe now there's a photo of him somewhere. But like, he writes these very long form action movies reviews, and he's very, very passionate about them. And he does it in like such a funny way. He's like, there's not that many writers where you're going to read an internet post and laugh out loud or want to like get somebody else to read it. And he's one of them. And I just saw that he was like, all right, I've been told I got to get on Letterboxd, so I'm going to go over to Letterboxd. So
right.
You got to find him. His
the word is out.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I will definitely seek him out.
I want to talk about, can I ask you another New Zealand question? And then we'll talk about, because so I some of the movies that I think are the funniest that are my favorite are from like New Zealand creators. And there's one that I found, a friend of mine, I can't remember if it was Margot or Larry recommended this to me, but it's Hunt for the Wilder People. Do you know that movie?
Yeah. I've just watched it with my daughters quite recently. Fantastic.
I love it. And it's like I like a wholesome movie. And I think it's like a really wholesome movie with a couple of curveballs, and like, it's really funny to me. I laugh at a lot. And I noticed there's this type of humor that originally I was just attributing to Taika Waititi. But like, he's funny in the same way that the Flight of the Conchords are funny. And then there are these 2 commercials that I've rewatched a bunch of times that are New Zealand commercials that I think are very funny. One is for a police department. And these police officers are running, doing all this athletic stuff. And then one guy's running and he's like, what's holding you back? And then like, off camera is like this lady, she goes, oh, it's just a bit of rope with a tire. And she's like doing the exercise. And I just think it's super funny. And there's another one about drunk driving where this guy is playing out in his head how if his friend drives drunk home, he'll become a ghost and he'll haunt him. And the joke that's so stupid that I love so much is he's walking with his ghost friend, and the ghost friend says, like, would you like a chip? And the other guy goes, I can't eat your stupid ghost chips.
Your ghost chips, yeah.
And I just thought it's so freaking funny for a drunk driving commercial. It's hilarious, and it's like, the message comes across really well. And at first I was like, wait, does Taika Waititi direct all this stuff? Or is that like a style of New Zealand humor? Is that like how Kiwis are funny generally speaking.
I think it's the latter. I think there's this level of self-deprecation that
Yeah.
And sort of this wry wit that
Yeah.
that pervades a lot of our best comedy.
Yeah.
It's I mean, Taika has, you know, I've followed Taika ever since. I mean, the first content of his that I saw was him making these little. There's a competition down here called 48 Hours, which is a make a short film in a weekend competition that they run every year, and you know, it's become very popular. But in the early 2000s, he would enter and he would make these little like takeoffs of Commando, this like little action films where he plays every role and has these wigs and false teeth, and
Nice.
he's just a sort of a phenomenon. But I
Yeah.
think he's sort of, you know, that humor has probably influenced others, but he's by no means the only New Zealander that goes in for that sort of
Yeah.
dry. Yeah.
It felt cultural, and it's dry. Like it seems descended from like Britishy kind of dryness, but like I feel like the British stuff has like way more edge to it, and the New Zealand stuff is way more like happy. It's like rye in a good mood versus rye in a bad mood, and maybe that's just weather in the two places or something. But like
Yeah.
it's sort of similar but different.
And there's this sort of notion I talk about down here, the cinema of unease, where a lot of our best art in terms of cinema has quite a dark edge to it, and I think
Yeah.
bringing the humor through is you know, is something that has happened more recently. That we can find the funny in some of that those dark themes that pervaded us in the sort of 70s and 80s and 90s.
Is there one that you know, can I get one more recommendation from you? Because I tend to like New Zealand films.
Okay, so how are you with so there was this
I'm great with everything.
Okay, so see if you can find a film called Out of the Blue, directed by Robert Sarkis. So this is not a film that probably many people know. It's a drama about a massacre that is very sort of prominent in New Zealand's history. So it's a tough watch. But the way that he filmed it is he doesn't linger on anything. He sort of tells this tale quietly, and it's a small town, lone gunman, and it's about the what happens that sort of in real time as events unfold. But it's one that always stuck with me, and not one that you'll probably hear from many others when asked about New Zealand films. But yeah.
That's great. I'm going to watch the commercials right afterwards, though. I need a palate cleanser after something like that. It's like massacres, then we'll get to ghost chips. And be back.
It's certainly not for everyone, so comes with that caveat.
Yeah, cool. So can I just ask you like business questions about how intentional some of like the pacing is and how you think about, because like it's got to be kind of cool or, you know, pretty. Like, how did you end up in the New York Times? I feel like that would be pretty neat to have a 10-year-old product like talked about in the New York Times. Like, how did that come about? And like, did that also feel kind of nice? I would imagine things like that.
Yeah. So that piece, it's kind of like, I think that just the pandemic got people thinking along the lines of like, how has behavior changed? And one of our friends, Lola, who runs Art of the Title,
oh, cool.
She like that's a website that our agency built for
awesome.
her, and we continue to maintain that to a tiny degree. She runs it on a shoestring, but you should all go and support her because it's a fantastic service that she does. There's just such a rich history of motion graphics and titles from, you know, not only film but TV and video games and stuff on there as well. But she knew the writer and of the piece, and she just suggested, after talking to us, I think suggested to Callum that you know, it might be an interesting angle to come and talk to us about, you know, how people's watching habits had kind of changed over the course of the pandemic. So yeah, we're thrilled to be mentioned and to be, you know,
Yeah.
Worthy.
Come on. New York Times. Who's that? It's like a little show. Yeah. But that's cool. I thought that was fun.
Our local paper in Auckland bought that article. Instead of coming and talking to us, they just bought that article and reran it.
That's amazing.
So we're not a thing down here. Like it's like we always, that was deliberate as well. We always knew that when we were building this, it was for an international global audience. It's impossible to run something that's as niche as Letterboxd is on a scale that's 5 million people. We had to think globally, and so I mean, even all of our copy is US English. I just thought it's like half our members are going to be in the States, so we'll just settle on dropping all our U's. I sort of cringe a little bit, but
there are a couple of the U's that I like. I like favor with a U. There's a couple of the U's that I wish we had in the mix for us. Rumor with a U is real nice.
Sometimes it just helps, right?
Yeah.
And the favorite, that film that.
I haven't seen that yet, but I love that actress.
Oh, you should see that. It's incredible. Yeah, it was one of my top films of a couple of years ago. Yorgos Lanthimos is he's again like one of these kind of filmmakers that just has such an interesting point of view, and I thought it was just delicious.
I get into a headspace with movies where I'm like, you're going to be an intellectual movie and I have to have like brain energy, or you're going to be an intense dark movie and I got to be ready for that. And so like I kind of categorize that as possibly being both of those at the same time, and so I never kind of jump into it.
It's more like a period film with a little bit of salaciousness. And it's like apparently based on a true story. I don't know how accurate the events, but like this Queen Anne did have this kind of relationship with these two women. By all accounts, and they're sort of vying for her attention. So
okay,
put it on your list.
It's going. I always have, there's so many movies to watch, but you're bumping them up to the top. And if I strike quickly, like if I have a relatively chill weekend, usually just means if my son goes to bed at 7 like he's supposed to, then movie time. And so, but that's cool. Ty, I've got some good ones. I'm stoked about that. So there's two things that you're saying, and what I love about Letterboxd from a business is there's two. You use the word niche, but according to the article, there's 3 million people who have accounts, and you use the word. A little bit of talk about like you're talking about the VC money, and you framed it in a negative, like at the cost of not moving faster. I think was something like what you said. And those are two things that I think are themes that like I bristle against, because the overwhelming information out there is like unicorns, make a big old $1 billion unicorn and go fast, move fast and break things. Like these are like themes that are really permeated. And I feel like if you just move the camera away from technology startups, like niche tends to be like the strongest business, like really, really well protected. You can go really deep on an area, and like slower tends to be better. Like Warren Buffett didn't make a ton of money on a Thursday 60 years ago. He made a bunch of money over 60 years. And, you get these charts that look like this, which are really nice, where it's just like you stick around, and by sticking around, everyone else falls away, and then you become the thing. And, how much of that, like, now that you're in New York Times, everybody knows you, you're so famous, and you've got these 3 million people who adore your product. Like, where does the temptation, like, how do you like stick with keeping it slow and steady? Or are you like, no, now we got to do like a watch app for Apple and all this other kinds of stuff? Or I'm just trying to think about like how you stay the course and if that's actually important to you.
Yeah, well, keeping our team small kind of forces our hand a little bit on exactly how much we can do. I mean, we've got, we've always got a roadmap of stuff that we want to do. This question of like, will Letterboxd extend to TV comes up a lot, and in the past decade, TV has sort of continued to have this golden age, and the lines are continually getting blurrier. I've personally, I think that there is a way that we could bring TV in without affecting the experience for people that aren't interested in seeing that. So that's something for us to work on, but that's kind of the long game. And I think, I mean, I rail against those things as well. I want to have something that we can do at our own pace, that we can be deliberate. We're not going to do a watch app because it just doesn't really make sense. We're going to stick to what we think enhances the platform. I think the biggest change we made in the past year was to introduce this new tier that we've called HQ, which allows organizations that are in the industry to interact and sort of share news, lists, whatever they have. We hope that will start to bring, exclusive is a kind of a weird word, but we hope that that will become another social arm for some sort of film-based organizations. And we're talking about everything from exhibitors to film societies to podcasts that all have, if they can all be in this place that sort of encompasses your film watching and everything about film, then you've got that opportunity just to stick with Letterboxd and not need to look further afield for that stuff. So that's kind of a beta, I guess, a sort of a public beta that we're running now. We're improving the tools, and there'll be more of those. We wanted to do it in a way that felt organic to the platform, though. You have to find Neon or the Film Center Film at Lincoln Center. You have to find their page and follow them if you want to see what they have to say. So it's not not anything that we don't go in for algorithms that mess with your feed or anything like that. We're just like, if you're interested, find their page, follow them, and you'll see their stuff in your stream and elsewhere.
Yeah, there's something lovely about movies for that, because they're time-based. Like, nobody can watch, somebody really on their game can watch 12 movies in a day, right? Like, that's all they're doing is watching movies. So like, the influx of content isn't going to be like that wild, so it is nice that like it's a great place to go for like, ooh, like this is like a little bit of a heartier meal in terms of like social stuff, but like not like like a full buffet of everything I have to like process.
And bringing the filmmakers and the film lovers a little bit closer together, I think, is part of why Letterboxd exists. Just to bridge that gap a little bit. And I feel that there's if that can happen, and perhaps that our audience can get access to stuff that they wouldn't get elsewhere from filmmakers, then that starts to make that's a value proposition that where everyone is better off.
TV is interesting because by not having it, you sort of leave open this like they are kind of their neighbors, and like but they're like there's like a different, I think there could be a tension in terms of like the sense of quality when you have like maybe like a 1970s sitcom or something like that sitting next to some of like a newer film or something. But you could, the diary element of it, like, and the completist in me always wants to like catalog all of this stuff. And so it does seem like somebody out there might come along, and I'm sure you've thought about this every which way. What is the downside of a TV specific letterbox? Like literally, you rebuild your whole social, everything is over there, even though you kind of have like a similar set of features, but it's just TV where you have to incorporate obviously seasons and episodes and everything like that.
So
that's sort of the downside.
The structure of TV represents an interesting sort of diversion, and that's been one of the key reasons not to have just added it from day one. We historically have allowed limited series and mini series, and that goes back sort of to technical reasons to do with the data source that we use to get this to get all our film data from. But I think that the structure being different with shows and seasons and episodes, and also with TV, there's this notion of films, of shows that you're currently watching, and you may be watching them actively, you may be watching them passively. You don't really have that it's different from a watch list, because that shows that maybe you've heard about and you want to watch in the future. But this notion, I think John Siracusa wrote a pretty salient piece that I read a year or two back about what his sort of dream scenario would be for a TV logging app, and this is one of the points that he raised about this sort of notion of how to prioritize shows I'm watching. Do I, if I watch a few episodes of something and then give it away, how does that sit against the show where I finished all the seasons but I can't wait for the Stranger Things season 4 to drop, or whatever it may be. So there's a ton to think about, and we are very sort of protective of our current experience and would want to do this in an opt-in way. So I guess the downside is that we might ruin what we have, and we're adamant that we don't want to do that. So I think a win for us, if and when we go down this road, would be, if you're not interested in TV, there's a big old button that you can press that leaves the experience pretty much as you see it now. And if you are interested in TV, you can bring that in as well.
That's cool. When the way you described it, it makes it seem like TV has more in common with video games. You have like a game that you want to play, a game that you're in the middle of playing, a game that you've abandoned, and a game that you've finished and like love. Kind of goes on the shelf.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe, and to probably a lesser degree, books as well. I mean, you might be reading several books, and I know people are sort of irate about the state of Goodreads, that it's abandonware or whatever. Since
why do you think there's not everybody talks about that one? It's like one of those, everybody doesn't like it. People who read, a lot of people who make digital products read, and there isn't like a solution that I've seen. It's the kind of thing that there's probably like tons of dribbles for. Somebody's like, this is how I would do it, this is how I would do it. You think there's something about like the data availability, or what's the like moat that stops people from making that for reading?
I think that probably is, you've hit the nail on the head there, that I don't know where the data would come from, like, because Amazon kind of owns like most of the useful book data, and maybe they wouldn't want to share it. The book thing is not something we've ever looked into. It's not we knew that to do movies well, we had to be focused on movies, and it wasn't something that we could extend on a whim. Like, so much of Letterboxd is built around specifics, even down to our messaging and error messages and things like that are all movie related.
That's little
in jokes and Easter eggs and stuff like that.
See, that's the shit I'm talking about. Like, we have a 10-year-old app. That's fun. We have an app that's 10 years old called To Do, or 11 years old. We did that with Tina Swiss Miss. And when you have an app that's that old, I think part of the service you're offering is not changing it and keeping it really comfortable and having it be like a familiar place to come back to, and like a place that you're gonna, there's definitely like, we have upgrading to do just because the world changes, and so technology changes, and so like if you want your app to be fast and things like that, there are all these like upgrades. But like really trying to think about how you constrain a feature set and just go deeper and deeper, so that even where like every error message is like really well timed and really funny and like not egregious and things like that. I just feel like there's a whole class of businesses that could exist in the world if more people built it this way and had the patience to. You and I have both run agencies, and that's sort of the hack, the very painful hack I would describe around running something on the side of this like scale. I know there are people trying to fund things differently to try to help people make businesses like this, but I don't know what the long-term like play is, but it just would be, there's like a very small number of kindred spirit, like apps that aren't trying to chase, whatever unicorn status, but are still going to be a pretty meaningful part of quite a few people's days. Like 3 million is niche, but that's like a city. That's like a pretty big city.
I know.
And so, I don't know. I'm rambling.
It's hard to picture. It's hard to comprehend for us now. But yeah, I get that completely. It's we really enjoyed being able to, come up with these little tricks, little references, that sort of stuff that just makes the product feel like it came from a bunch of film fans and not out of some machine.
Yeah.
So, if you go on our app, on our iOS app, and go to the Groundhog Day page, and then try and go back, you'll end up on the Groundhog Day page. Like shit like that. It's just
that's awesome. That's awesome.
It just like it's fun to do. And I think on our website, the Tenet page, you scroll down to the bottom, and then you see the whole page upside down. Like you can keep scrolling, and the whole page is kind of repeated upside down.
Love it. I haven't seen that movie, but
just because, right? It's it's kind of incomprehensible, but yeah, you've seen his movies. You know how they go.
Yeah,
like he's. Yeah, I don't think Tenet's not his best movie, but it's watchable, and don't try to. What's the line from the film? Don't try to think it, feel it, or something like that. Like it's it doesn't really matter if you can't make sense of it, because there's still some cool visuals.
That is a very impressive film move. You get to the end of your movie and you're like, okay, I don't think this makes any sense, but I have this line. Okay, we're going to tell them, don't think about it, feel it, and then it's going to solve. And then we're meta, so we don't have to worry about making sense of it.
Cool. One of my colleagues has this theory about Nolan that he kind of is in the habit of like ruining his movies in the last act. And it's not one that I subscribe to 100%, but yeah, I see his point on a film like Memento, where you sort of, the story's told backwards. You're running up to this final reveal of like how this all happened, and then you realize in this final scene that it was kind of just like, I'm sorry if this is a spoiler, but 20-year-old movie or whatever, that it was kind of like on a whim. Like there was no rhyme or reason to why it happened. This guy just decided to not like this other character, and it weakens what otherwise was pretty groundbreaking. So I get that, and I get that he likes these little like twists and sort of plot devices right at the end of his films. But I'll still watch whatever he makes.
Yeah. That's when I turned on M. Night for like a similar reason. I watched, I think it's called The Village or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So visually cool. And there's like, what's out there? And then like the Shyamalan twist is that it's just today. And I was like, I kind of already thought maybe it was today. I just thought it was today in a different universe. Like, it's so lame that you did that to me, and that you must be addicted to twists. So, once I saw that, I was like, I don't think I've watched any of them since.
You just have to go back and watch The Sixth Sense again, because I think, it holds up a lot better. And, even if you kind of, know the twist, it's still a good watch.
There's a comedian named Nate Bargatze, and I love comedy, and he's a clean comedian for the most part. I think anybody could watch him. But he has a joke about The Sixth Sense, and he was like, I'm going to tell you about marriage. It's like, I watched The Sixth Sense recently, and, marriage is such that, like, we went through a whole movie thinking that, like, basically – this guy was alive and his wife didn't talk to him, instead of like that he's been like dead the whole time. And there's like, I went back and watched it. He's like, wait, is it like a secret that he dies? Like, no, he gets shot in the opening scene. So he's like, this is a story about marriage. It's really tough. You have to have communication. I don't know. I would suggest watching the actual professional comedian do his jokes, but it is he's a very, very funny set and a good one about that. What I can't tell from you, because your energy, we're on a Zoom, We don't have any. We're not having any drinks or anything like that. How good of a mood are you in about running Letterboxd and living life and everything like that? Like, how is it? How is it going?
It's really going well, and I think it has been a year for a little bit of reflection. I think so. It's 10 years in October since we came to your gig, and I stood up. Man, I was nervous. And stood up and played that little video that I had spent the previous
that was
day
awesome.
putting together. Yeah. And like, I spent a lot of time on this, way too much. If you ask my family, like I spent way too much time. But the last year or two, having been able to get to a point where there's revenue coming in, we're selling subscriptions, for those members that choose to take them, I've a little bit of weight has been lifted. I'm not answering all the support email tickets that I did for years and years. I'm not looking at social media so much. We've got Aaron, who does an amazing job with our social media. He's just sort of taken all that off my hands. Jack in Los Angeles, who does a lot of our support. And it's really been, it's been freeing. And so I feel great. It's like I finally feel that it's like a proper business, how proper business is supposed to be run, where I find good people and ask them to do stuff, and it works.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
and I can still be steering it to a small to a degree, and am, but just not having to have that weight of covering every base yourself, because this we've learned a ton, but there's so much detail under the hood of when you're doing it at this scale, that I feel like I did take on way too much. So I'm in a much better place now. I think
if you keep making revenue and it keeps getting better, would you still run your agency, or when would you say like, oh, I'm either going to hand it off to somebody else to completely run and I need to pay attention to it, not at all, or shut an agency down and you're not Cactus Lab and you're like, I'm Letterboxd, and that's like my whole thing.
Yeah, so I guess I've been constantly moving in that direction. I haven't made any plans about what would happen. My co-founder is sort of handles technical and infrastructure side, but he's still much more involved in the agency side. So it's still in great hands. It's just that it doesn't require me quite as much day to day, because the team's a little bigger, and so I think continuing as we are is the current plan. But cool.
So that's a proper business, but it's also your side hustle. So you're basically are Letterboxd in terms of how you think.
I've turned things inside out.
Yeah, it's
a
like
little
Tenet.
bit, but that agency, exactly. The agency's will be 20 this October.
Oh wow, that's a big
so
number.
It's we've been doing it a long time, and I think for me personally, having the last 10 years been spent largely on one project has been, I think I've really benefited from that, and from having that much larger purview than from just going down the same road with client projects. I love that work. I came from publishing before starting the agency, where it was, you lived and breathed putting together a magazine issue, and you got this thing back from the printer, and basically leafed through it and smelled it and hoped there weren't any typos. And it sort of has felt like getting back to just concentrating on one project to as much as can be expected when there's still an agency there, has been
So you can pull from Cactus, you can collaborate with the Cactus side of things when you want to do things on Letterboxd. Do you use idle time for that?
Yeah, we still do. and particularly in like around, still the designers at Cactus is still and front end is still, we're still big borrow and steal, and it works, but Letterboxd also has its own full-time development. Our mobile side is still shared. Mobile development still shared with between Letterboxd and Cactus Lab, but there's as we go forward and as revenue goes up, then we have the opportunity to sort of cement more full-time positions. So, which is great. It's
I would just say, as like a outside humble buddy, whatever, just like, don't change. It's like, I'm like, it's like, keep it. It looks awesome. I love the little loading penny. I love everything about it. Like, I feel like now that you're Hollywood and famous and everything, I would just love for you to just be this, like, we stuck with it. We worked hard, and it's like, bam. Like, I think you've got something that has so much personality and is so special. And it's just like, as somebody who loves the internet and wants those corners of the internet, they just aren't there. And so, like, you have this like magic that you can only create by sticking with something for 10 years. And it seems like you've helped yourself out by resource constraining yourself. So even if you were tempted by some cool new feature or something like that, you're forced to be more deliberate. I don't know. I just hope you hang on to that.
Well, thank you. That's music to my ears. And like, if you'd get a hug right now,
wouldn't that be fun?
We were closer. So, remember hugs? Yeah,
those are cool.
Sort of.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Chris Glass, do you know who that is? He just shut down his side company called Wire and Twine, and their last thing was air hugs until we can bear hugs, which is like I bought that T-shirt. I thought it was really cute, classic.
I like it. It's
Let me just ask
we'll get back.
Sorry, dude. I keep interrupting you. Go.
No, go. You
no, I did. I already went before. You got to go this time.
You put the question out for like questions to ask me, and I saw like someone asked like, what's your favorite horror movie, which is like, I don't know, like I've got a list somewhere, they can look it up, but it just reminded me how much seeing the group and the setting that you see a film in has an effect on your experience of it. And I think a lot of the horror movies I've enjoyed the most have been ones that I've seen in cinemas with a huge up for it crowd that just completely changes your experience of it. So whoever asked that question can, I think.
What's the deal with the drone? What happened to your last drone? Some question.
John, bless John. So like we've been doing some boating. My family, like my dad is a very keen yachtsman, very skilled. I
told you were a Hollywood. Now you're yachting all over the place.
He couldn't always afford to own boats, but he owned a boat when I was born. He owned a boat again when I was like a sailing yacht when I was at university. So I spent a bunch of time with him doing that, and that really rubbed off. And so now I think with being confined to New Zealand, doing a little bit of adventuring on a boat has been pretty cool. There's so much, like within an hour of the port here. There's literally hundreds of islands that and bays that we can visit. Anyway, so drones don't mix with ocean. At least I'm just a novice. I set the thing up on the this like bait tray on the back of, and I thought it would go straight up because that's what drones are supposed to do, right? You hit the launch button, the drone goes straight up. Wow, there was a moderate breeze, and the drone just grazed there's a fishing rod holder on the edge of so it just grazed that, and it lost its balance a little bit, and it went for a wee swim.
So is it just gone? That just lives there now, or were you able to recover
Yeah,
it?
pretty much. I should have
Yeah.
made more of an effort to recover it, but I was so annoyed at myself that I just
Yeah.
fretted and yeah.
I mean, they
Anyway,
have expressions about
that's
turn the ship
life. I
around.
now have a
It's
cool
hard.
story to tell you on the internet.
Nice. When you talk about all those islands and everything, New Zealand is somewhere that I've always wanted to go. Australia too, and it's just the length of the flight has always intimidated me. But and I always
It's
thought it
one
was good, like
sleep, Cameron.
Webstock.
It's one sleep. Now that you're
Yeah,
on the West Coast, it's one sleep and you're here.
yeah.
So
The West Coast thing makes it nice.
When we get back to, it being legitimate to travel again, come down here, one sleep, and then we can go out on a boat and you can see some splendor. Oh, we'll try not to do that.
Yeah, that sounds great. I love that. I was hoping for Webstock. Maybe that's something that I could go to sometime. Like if that's still around or comes back. I think it's not happening.
I think like Tash has this plan to. Obviously, it didn't happen this year, but like next year's a new year, and I think I think if she can put it on, she will. It's always a hard thing to do, no more so now. But I think that like currently just a problem actually being able to get overseas guests into the country without spending a fortnight in a hotel somewhere.
Yeah, we were gonna, before this happened, we were 90% convinced that we were going to do a conference reboot in Brooklyn, just some new with a different name. And we had even like put dibs on like a venue, and we were like, okay, let's just see if we can make it happen. And then everything started going, and it just got wiped away. And so it's like a real bummer. I was like, what if we just kind of like, wouldn't it be fun? Because people are just, when you stop running a conference that invites everybody to your city, you stop seeing people. There are people that I used to see, I had an excuse to see every year, where it just does not happen anymore. And this year really cemented it. So I bet you the year back, 2022, and the end of this year will probably be so conference heavy that it won't make any sense. But maybe once people get it out of their system, trying to do one more event and getting everybody back together would be really, 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 really fun.
Yeah, I will come back.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. We'll do tradesies.
Yeah.
I'll go there. You come over.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, hey, thanks for catching up with me. I know I like the idea of just like talking to people and using this little thing as an excuse to talk to people like I wouldn't, with nothing, no agenda in mind. And when I saw you in the New York Times article, I just was so pumped. I was like, F yeah.
Thank you.
Like, it's like light shined on the right place. So, it was cool. And I know you're a little nervous about coming to hang out with me. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Hopefully it didn't show. I'm so happy to be asked. And same time next week. What are we?
Yeah, let's do it. Can you show me what's going on with your yard? What's the deal over there? What is it? It looks nice over there. You're outside.
We spent a little bit of, I don't know if you can see it. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We spent a bit of time while we were in lockdown last year, just tidying it up a bit and making it, because it was just grass before. So
is that a big beanbag?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. And what's your situation vis-a-vis dogs and cats? What do you have over there that way?
We have a 4-year-old miniature Schnauzer.
Yes.
I'm surprised you haven't heard him on this call. He's around. He's around somewhere. If anyone comes to deliver anything, you would definitely have heard him. But he's cool, and no cats.
I call dibs on beanbag with the Schnauzer when I come visit.
And one of the beers out of the fridge. And
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's number 3 on the list though. I mean, I don't want you to just be like, no Schnauzer, but we've got a beer.
We can arrange all 3. It's all
awesome.
Good.
Great, man.
Yeah.
Well, you have a good one.
Fantastic.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
I'll catch you later.
Awesome.
Bye,
see you, mate.
Bye. Let's see, how do I do this? I've stopped the sharing. So that's cool.
I'm still here.
Thank you again. Yeah.
You're welcome.
That's nice. I'm gonna drink some of this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to do this stuff, but I just want to. So that's like my little
but like
mission.
It also, I love the fact that it's just like, I watched the other 2. I meant to watch the deeper. She's so fascinating. Such a deep level of knowledge, and going back to the Macromedia days. I lived in fireworks since version 1 of fireworks. I used that to do. I never did design in Photoshop. Version one of fireworks all the way through, and eventually switched to Sketch. But I still go back to fireworks on old machines if I have oh shit, I need to go and get an asset out of a file.
Yeah. Doesn't she also seem like she could be like a news anchor? I felt like she was immediately so comfortable. I was like, whoa.
Natural.
Yeah.
Some people just have it. I don't. I know that I'm always a little bit awkward and a little bit nervous in these situations. I just haven't done it a ton. You'd think that with the pandemic, having got all of us on Zoom all the time, that we'd be more used to it. But I even had the camera set up, like the good camera that you saw.
Yeah, the fancy one.
Frozen. I think because maybe it's just a Zoom, like it normally works as Zoom fine, but because it's because the live stuff is hooked into it as well, maybe it just didn't like it. Maybe. It still says we're live.
I like it better like this. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think we're still live.
I pushed the stop button.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, it's fine. Just Deepa, you rule. You're the best.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a Deepa Submarinium fan club.
Yeah.
Right here.
Cool. Well, I don't know how to stop it then other than to hang up. So I'm going to say goodbye.
No, that's cool.
I was so bummed when I saw our Twitter feed. I was like, we could have hung out in December, and I was like, yeah, maybe I should have figured out how to happen. I didn't know it'd be so long again, but we'll do.
Yeah,
we'll make it happen.
We will get back to it, and I miss you, and I'm glad that you're well.
Yes, same to you. All right,
cool,
I'll catch you later, buddy.
See you later.